take a look at here. Here you go. Our friend Mr. Dowd. His name is Edward Dowd. He's a former BlackRock exec. And here he is talking to Bannon.
This. In your
Check this
mind,
out.
given your analytical ability to look at things, understanding you're not a doctor and you're not a professional in the area, but you are a professional in investing, is Dr. Paul Alexander correct?
Absolutely correct. We're unfortunately seeing the results show up in the insurance companies and the funeral home stocks. This is
Funeral home.
There's been a lot of debate about the safety in the VAERS database. We've got the VAERS database, we've got the DoD leak. Now we have insurance company results and funeral home results. And business is good for funeral homes, unfortunately. And the insurance companies are experiencing losses in their group life policy insurance.
Guys, buy
arms.
funeral home stocks now.
AIG reported. AIG,
You know what? I'm going to look them up. It's kind of morbid.
They called out unfavorable mortality in the quarter.
It sucks.
Net, they saw a loss in that segment. They went from a profit to a loss in Q4. Net, year over year, they saw increasing mortality. So that's a problem. Aegon Insurance, a Dutch insurer, saw in the third quarter, they saw a plus 258% increase in claims in the U.S. arm. In the fourth quarter, they just reported they saw 51%. And on the conference call, the CFO raised expectations for COVID and indirect COVID, whatever that means.
What the heck does that mean?
300,000.
What is indirect COVID?
That's up from 20.
What is that?
So, riddle me this: how is that happening
Batman?
with the miracle vaccine?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
This doesn't make any sense. And, Fauci and some of these other people are talking about the pandemic ending. Why is mortality rising as the pandemic's ending? So I think we know what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
This has been a disaster. And it needs to be called out. The proof is there. We need some adults in Washington to stand up from our political class and end this nonsense.
My friends, see, this is the problem with a lot of these guys. This is the problem, not him, but a lot of these people who think that they can hide things and stuff. I guess they realize it because they're trying to go to war, because they see that that's the only way to stem this. Eventually, the markets talk to us. People who are involved in the fallout from these things talk to us. CFOs of insurance companies talk to us. CEOs, people who run funeral homes talk to us. They all talk to us and they tell us what is actually going on in relation to what we're seeing in front of us, guys. So if we're talking about a shmendemic or pandemic that's over, supposedly, allegedly, if we're talking about something that works, but we see pharma stocks, insurance stocks, funeral stocks, my friends, eventually what happens is somebody has to pay the piper, right? Somebody has to pay the piper. And all this stuff begins cascading. And, these people are running off with the money. My friends, rest assured, these companies, Schmeiser, Schmamerna, this guy just took himself off Twitter. Guys, do you know who does that? People who orchestrated a Ponzi scheme and a pump and dump. They get people's money, they get people to take their product, they get all the money, and then, well, usually not, in this case it was from the governments, and then they do what? They run away. They disappear. My friends, right now, Mr. Shmurla, he's still kind of hanging around. I don't really know why. Maybe he's going to be the fall guy, or maybe he's going to be he's going to do PR. I don't know. Yeah, see, he just tweeted out, what was his last tweet? February 15th. Next generation vaccine is now authorized by EMA, I guess European Medicines. 18 and older, protects against 20 different types of serotypes responsible for majority invasive pneumococcal disease and pneumonia. Interesting. So previous to that, his last tweet was February 8th. My friends, okay? He's here to do PR. But I'll tell you guys something. I have a feeling that this guy thinks this guy thinks that he's doing something good, so he doesn't maybe realize what's coming, or maybe he does. I don't know. I just don't know. I don't know. You know, guys. I mean, like, you look at the history of like all of these Hamans. Yeah, see, there's a picture of him and the what's her name, Frau von der Leyen from the EU. My friends, do you understand? See, it says the mandates come from McKinsey and Rubicon Strategy, lobbyists for Pfizer, Big Pharma, and Tech. 80% of Health Canada's funding now comes from Big Pharma. This is what privatized healthcare looks like. Mandatory mRNA 4 times a year, because all Albert Schmurla and Larry Fink say so. My friends, I mean, this is all coming to a head. I'll tell you, this is all coming to a head. And see, they interviewed. Oh, this is a French interview, but they interviewed Luc Montagnier before he passed away. He basically said, very simply, my friends, that test yourself for AIDS. If you took 3 shots, test yourself. Not AIDS, HIV.
Without waiting for...
Yeah. This wonderful lady over here, von der Leyen, whatever her name is. My friends, these Germans, I don't know. No offense to any Germans listening, guys. What is wrong with you guys? This Schwab, von der Leyen. My God, you guys did not go away. My friends, the Nazis didn't go away. They did not go away. And see, now this guy's hugging one of them. This Burla, Schmurla guy, whose parents survived the Holocaust. I mean, it's just the irony. Guys, you know, I saw an article about little kids in the UK being, what is it called? Being, they let them pet sheep to calm them down in order to give them this vaccine. My friends, I mean, like, breathtaking. The irony is just breathtaking. They're letting the sheep pet the sheep so that the sheep can get the vaccine. Yeah, see, nothing says trust the science quite like you can't sue us if something goes wrong and we need 55 years to release the data to the public. Guys, I mean, it's just, I don't know. I talk to friends about this. You know, I show them data. From Israel. And it's just, I don't know. Oh, see, there you go. There you go. Albert Schmurler about stock prices. Let's take a look.
It's great to see you. Thanks for
Mr.
being
PR
with us.
man.
You know, let's start with the quarter and your forecast. You know, you forecast $54 billion in combined sales of your COVID vaccine and your antiviral drug on top of the rest of the business. But the stock is down, as Kelly was pointing out. What do you make of the investor reaction here?
You know, when it comes to stock price, it's never a sprint. It's always a marathon. And, you know, have this volatility. Because
It's never a sprint. It's always a marathon. Volatility. Guys, I'm going to switch to Russian. You understand?
some people are taking, let's say, opportunities from price.
Opportunities for price. Sure, I know everything about trading. I'm Albert Burla, the CEO of Pfizer.
The numbers that we gave for guidance for this year were a record high, not only for Pfizer, I think for the industry, with the first time 100 billions of revenues on the midpoint of the guidance. It's nothing that have not been happened before.
And of course, one of the major drivers of that guidance is your antiviral pill Paxlovid. Analysts said they expect could go up because you manufacture it toward the end of this year in the United States.
First of all, here in the United States, every month will be better than the previous one. We are giving way more in
Oh, yeah, look at that.
January, way more in...
Guys, you see these numbers? He accused people like Dr. Zelenko of wanting to make money, of using this as an opportunity to make money. My friends, I mean, like, oh my God. Projection much?
March, and I think significant quantity starting in April.
Oh my God.
It will be, let's say, way easier for people to find Paxlovid. Right now, the states are working reasonably well. Most of the states immediately order all the allocation that the U.S. government is giving them, which is basically what we are giving them. And this example, the first.
Sure. My friends, do you know why the stock is tanking? Can I tell you why the stock is tanking? I'll tell you why the stock is tanking. Very simple. Why it's been tanking, why it's been going down. Because analysts aren't stupid, guys. They put the shorts in. Analysts move before the shorts. That's why the stocks are tanking. Okay. Let's take a listen again to Mr. Dowd. Don't tell anybody. Shh. It's about to tank. Listen. Shh. And they're about to run off with the money, but we're going to catch them. I have something that might help him to catch you.
Pfizer's down 19%.
Mm-hmm.
So we don't, and it's become clear to me the clinical data is fraud. And interestingly enough, since that podcast went out and the news is kind of floating around Wall Street that the whole clinical trial may be fraudulent, which I believe it is 100% in my opinion. No one from the mainstream media has reached out to her.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to break some news today. She's been contacted by Wall Street Investment Bank. Wow, wants to get her on a call with institutional investors,
Mm-hmm.
pension funds, hedge funds, and they also want to.
So, guys, you guys some of these people are gonna write this off because of Mr. over here. Okay, my friends, Rambam said, "Accept the truth wherever you find it." Okay, accept the truth wherever you find it. Do I follow this guy? I do follow him. Very good. Shkoyach. Let's take a look. Any other comments here? So, my friends, see, Pfizer deserves to be the new Enron. My friends, I wonder where the CEO of Shmamurna is, because his stock, guys, you want to take a look at Moderna stock? Check this out. Check this out, my friends. Check this one out. Guys, you know what this is? You ever see a chart like this? You know what this is? This chart? You know what they call that? It's called a pump and dump. It's called a pump and dump. Made by people who are orchestrating a Ponzi scheme. Pump and dump, pump and dump. Do, 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 do. Oh, so I have to grow. Okay, let's take a look. Upgrading to neutral on the Tesla of biotech. Okay. My friends, sometimes, see? Is Moderna a buy following a 12% plunge? 4 analysts weigh in. Let's read. Waiting sentiment on. Let's read all these articles. We're going to read all these articles. Sorry. Let's read all these articles. Okay. Yeah, broken clock is right once a day. Exactly. Yeah, Mr. Jones. Yeah. Why am I singing American Gladiators music? I don't know, but I like to do that. Let's see. Wall Street expects a year-over-year increase in earnings on higher. My friends, see, the thing is, but you have to wonder. Hey, it says stock might move higher if these key numbers top expectations in the upcoming earnings report, which is expected to be released February 24th. On the other hand, if they miss, the stock may move lower. Many people are accepting to be part of this social experiment, even with all the odds, statistics, and information against it. Yeah, listen. Insanity, my friends. See, revenues are expected to be $6.71 billion for Moderna, up 1,000% from a year ago. Of course. I mean, you start from zero, of course. Earnings whisper. This is just like, whispers. Blah, blah, blah. Let's do the analysts. 4 analysts weigh in. Okay. Okay. Morgan Stanley analyst Matthew Harrison reaffirmed the hold along with a $213 price target. From right now it's at $140. Among the most bullish analysts, Moderna stock is Leah Rush Khan, Brookline Capital Markets, with a $506 price target and buy rating. Tyler Van Buren of Cowen issued equivalent of hold with a $200 price target, and one of the more bearish analysts, Jeff Meacham of Bank of America, put a neutral and $180 price target on Moderna. Chris McDonald did not have either directly in the positions. Okay, disclosure, whatever, very nice. Okay. Oh, Spikevax approval baked into the price. Okay. Spikevax, okay, wonderful. See, it says we only forecast 18 billion, minus 2 billion of the consensus, as we think the launch of oral antivirals from both Pfizer and Merck and the transition to an endemic market has further limited the COVID-19 market. For analysts, rating summary and ratings history of Moderna. My friends, can I just tell you something? If the next thing comes, see this guy Ben Sell. Let's listen to him.
In the coming weeks, but we also have an alpha and a beta and a delta booster in the clinic. And we're also going to look at combinations through combining with COVID, 1 single dose a year. You get your COVID booster, adapted.
See, my friends, they're gonna want people to give once a year things. You understand? This is January. Oh, this was in January. Okay, this was in January. I apologize. Why did the stock drop? Yeah, set its 2022 outlook below expectation. This sets Pfizer after raising revenue guidance for COVID-19 shot. Initial estimates of Paxlovid stood at $22 billion. Today's sell-off comes after FDA decided to postpone AdCom meeting scheduled to discuss the Pfizer for kids 6 months to 5 years. My friends, he didn't mention that. He's like, yeah, people are this, people are that, blah, 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 blah. Yeah, the trading expert, Albert Bourla. Trading expert. Guys, I mean, it's just, you understand, he's kept on as a PR guy at this point. You see that. It's all spin. These are spin doctors, my friends. He's not even a doctor, he's a veterinarian. That's why he treats us like animals. Hey, here you go. The naked face of new normal fascism. I told you this part wasn't going to be pretty. The collapse of fascist ideological movements and fanatical death cults never is. The new normal is proving to be no exception. Oh, there you go. Look at that. After 3 weeks of non-violent civil disobedience outside the Canadian Parliament in Ottawa by truckers and other Canadian citizens struggling to uphold their right to not be subjected to forced vaccination, Justin Trudeau unleashed the goon squads. Thousands of militarized riot police and other unidentified heavily armed operatives swarmed the area, surrounded the protesters, started breaking into trucks and arresting people and beating them with batons and butts of their rifles. Very nice. The new normal stormtroopers rode their horses directly into a crowd of non-violent protesters, trampling an elderly lady with a walker. She had just finished saying something to the police along the lines of, "You break my heart, this is about peace, love, and happiness." Then they knocked her down and rode their horses over her. Despite an abundance of video evidence clearly depicting exactly what happened, the Ottawa police tried to spin it this way. When we hear your concern, anyone who fell, got up and walked away. We're unaware of any injuries. A bicycle was thrown at the horse further down the line and caused the horse to trip. The horse was uninjured. Here's an overhead photo of the incident. This lady on a big red arrow points to lady's walker and alleged horse assaulting bicycle. Presumably the face of gentleman above has also caused the horse to trip, or was in the process of causing the horse to trip at the moment that this photo was taken. That wasn't all. Oh no, far from it. The show of force was just getting started. After all, this was not a mostly peaceful outbreak of rioting, looting, and arson. This was a non-violent civil disobedience with children's bouncy castles, makeshift saunas, honking, dancing, illegal barbecuing, and other forms of terrorist activity, which had to be crushed with an iron fist. On Saturday, the goon squads broke out. We know the story. In case you thought the new normal couldn't get any more, dystopian tow truck operators wearing neo-green ski masks with their company's decals taped over on their trucks to conceal their identities have been deployed against the truckers in Ottawa. My friends, this is just... She says, Ottawa police chief says even if protesters retreat and go home, they'll be hunted and punished, meaning they have zero incentive to leave, because cowering won't save them. There you go. Let's read to the end. Here you go. The official narrative is rapidly dissolving. Here you go. Rendering the fascism of the new normal visible. This is happening now because those of us who have seen it from the beginning and have been resisting it all along have held out long enough to run out the clock. As you guys can see, the fact that I can come and go as I please to Israel, a lot of people can, okay? If only they had waited. No, I want to take the shot, I want to go to Israel. My friends, all you have to do is wait. Wait out the clock, you understand? Global Cap can't keep the narrative going, so all they have left is brute fascist force. We need to make Global Cap deploy that force and to shine a big bright spotlight on it, as the truckers and protesters in Ottawa have just done. In case anyone is confused about the tactic, it's called classic nonviolent civil disobedience. I described it in a recent column, so he goes on talking about it. The official narrative is dead or dying. The COVIDian cult is coming apart. No one but the most fanatical new normals believe that there's any real justification for imposing mandatory vaccination, quarantine camps, segregation of the unvaccinated, or any other COVID restrictions. The virus is no longer an excuse for mindlessly following ridiculous orders and persecuting those of us who refuse. Apocalyptic pandemic theater is over. It is purely political fight from now on. Ottawa is not the end. It is just the beginning. Protests and other forms of civil disobedience are growing all over the world. Yes, even now, this guy's in Germany. New normal Germany. That does not mean it's time to relax. On the contrary, it is time to step up the pressure. It is time to make the monster show itself in all its naked fascist ugliness and to force everyone to pick a side. There are only two sides: fascism, or freedom. My friends, we know how this goes. See? There you go. There you go. So he wrote an article, The Last Days of the Covidian Cult. When was this written? I think I already read this to you guys. Yeah, this was in January. This guy, what's his name? Mr. C.J. Hopkins. Yeah. Mr. Yeah. Oh, here we go. Covidian Cult. Oh, he wrote a few articles like this. Okay. Covidian Cult. What about February? Yeah. Oh, he wrote this. Okay, fine. Attack of the transphobic Putin Nazi truckers. That's very funny. This was 2 weeks ago, guys. Listen, guys, I'll read this to you again. Here you go. This isn't going to be pretty, folks. The downfall of a death cult rarely is. There's going to be wailing and gnashing of teeth, incoherent, fanatical and I'll end with this. Fanatical jabbering, mass deleting of embarrassing tweets. There's going to be a veritable tsunami of desperate rationalizing, strenuous denying, shameless blame shifting, and other form of ass covering as suddenly former Covidian cult members make a last-minute break for the jungle before fully schmaxed and boosted safe and effective Kool-Aid servers get to them. Yes, that's right. As I'm sure you've noticed, the official COVID narrative is finally falling apart or is being hastily disassembled, or historically revised right before our eyes. The experts and the authorities are finally acknowledging that the COVID deaths and hospitalization statistics are artificially inflated and totally unreliable, which they have been from the very beginning, and they are admitting that their miracle schmexines don't work unless you change the definition of the word schmexine, and that they have killed a few people, or maybe more than a few people, and that lockdowns are probably a serious mistake. I'm not going to bother with further citations. You can surf the internet as well as I can. The point is, the apocalyptic pandemic PSYOP has reached its expiration date. After almost 2 years of mass hysteria over a schmirus that causes mild to moderate common cold, the flu-like symptoms, blah, 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 we are exhausted. Even the Covidian cultists are exhausted, and they are starting to abandon the cult en masse. It was always mostly just a matter of time. As Klaus Schwab said, the pandemic represented a rare but narrow window of opportunity to reflect, reimagine, and reset our world. We're going to be an angrier world. Blah, 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 blah. It isn't over, but the window is closing and our world has not been reimagined and reset, not irrevocably, not just yet. Clearly, Global Cap underestimated the potential resistance to the Great Reset and the time it would take to crush that resistance, and now the clock is running down and the resistance isn't crushed. On the contrary, it is growing, and there is nothing Global Cap can do to stop it, other than go openly totalitarian, which it can't, as that would be suicidal. As I note... Ta-da! As I noted in a recent column, new normal totalitarianism and any global capitalist form of totalitarianism cannot display itself as totalitarianism or even authoritarianism. It cannot acknowledge its political nature. In order to exist, it must not exist. Above all, it must erase its violence, the violence that all politics ultimately comes down to, and appear to us as an essentially beneficent response to a legitimate global health crisis. The simulated global health crisis is, for all intents and purposes, over, which means that global cap has screwed the pooch. The thing is, if you intend to keep the masses whipped up into a mindless frenzy of anus-puckering paranoia over an apocalyptic global pandemic, at some point, you have to produce an actual apocalyptic global pandemic. Fake statistics and propaganda will carry you for a while, but eventually people are going to need to experience something at least resembling an actual devastating worldwide plague in reality, not just on their phones and TVs. Also, Global Cap seriously overplayed their hand with the miracle schmexines. Covidian cultists really believed that schmexines would protect them from infection. Epidemiology experts like Rachel Maddow assured them that they would. Now we know that the schmexines work well enough that the virus stops with every vaccinated person. March 29, 2021. A vaccinated person gets exposed to the virus cannot infect them, the virus cannot use that person to go anywhere else. She added with a shrug, it cannot use a vaccinated person as a host to get more people. Go get more people. Now they are all sick with, a cold. basically, or are asymptomatically infected, or whatever. They're looking for a future in which they will have submit to vaccinations and boosters every 3 or 4 months to keep their compliance certificates current in order to be allowed to hold a job, attend a school, or eat at a restaurant, which, okay, hardcore cultists are fine with, but there are millions of people who have been complying, not because they're delusional fanatics who would wrap their children's heads excuse me, in cellophane if Anthony Fauci ordered them to, but purely out of solidarity or convenience or herd instinct or, cowardice. Yeah, my friend is saying they need to create another event to escape the fallout. Of course they do. Many of these people, i.e. the non-fanatics, are starting to suspect that maybe what we tinfoil hat-wearing, COVID-denying, anti-schmacks, conspiracy theorist extremists have been telling them for the past 22 months might not be as crazy as they originally thought. They're backpedaling, rationalizing, revising history, and just making up all kinds of self-serving bullshit, like how we are now in a post-vaccine world, or how the science has changed, or how Omicron is different, in order to avoid being forced to admit that they are the victims of a global psyop and the worldwide mass hysteria it has generated. Which, fine, let them tell themselves whatever they need for the sake of their vanity or their reputations as investigative journalists, celebrity leftists, or Twitter revolutionaries. If you think these recovering COVIDian cult members are ever going to publicly acknowledge all the damage they have done to society and to people and their families since March 2020, much less apologize for all the abuse they heaped onto those of us who have been reporting the facts, well, they're not. They're going to spin, equivocate, rationalize, and lie through their teeth, whatever it takes to convince themselves and their audience that when the shit hit the fan, they didn't click heels and go full good German. Give these people hell if you need to. I just feel just as angry and betrayed as you do, but let's not lose sight of the ultimate stakes here. Yes, the official narrative is finally crumbling, and the COVIDian cult is starting to implode, but that does not mean that this fight is over. Global Cap and their puppets in government are not going to cancel the whole new normal program, pretend the last 2 years never happened, and gracefully retreat to the lavish bunkers in New Zealand and their mega yachts. Totalitarian movements and death cults do not typically go down gracefully. They usually go down in a gratuitous orgy of wanton, nihilistic violence as the cult or movement desperately attempts to maintain its hold over its wavering members and defend itself from encroaching reality. And that is where we are at the moment, or where we are going to be very shortly. Cities, states, and countries around the world are pushing ahead with implementing the new more normal biosecurity society, despite the fact that there is no longer any plausible justification for it. Austria is going ahead with forced vaccination. Germany is preparing to do the same. France rolling out national segregation system to punish the unvaccinated. Greece is fining people. Pensioners. Australia is operating quarantine camps. Scotland, Italy, Spain, Netherlands, New York City, San Francisco, Toronto. The list goes on and on and on. I don't know what is going to happen. I'm not an oracle. I'm just a satirist. But we are getting dangerously close to the point where Global Cap will need to go full-blown fascist if they want to finish what they started. If that happens, things are going to get very ugly. My friends, this was January 18th. This was a month ago. Exactly a month ago, before now we have Canada. Think Jonestown or Hitler's final days in the bunker or the last few months of the Manson family. This is what happens to totalitarian movements and death cults once the spell is broken and their official narratives fall apart. When they go down, they try to take the whole world with them. I don't know about you, but I'm hoping we can avoid that. From what I've heard and read, it isn't much fun. My friends, this was written January 18th, 2022. And here we are, February 20th, okay? And we're looking at Canada, guys. We're looking at Canada. This wasn't difficult to, this guy is not the only person who was saying this, but the way his words are, the way he spins it is very good, guys. This is Jonestown. This is, Down. If you guys saw the movie Downfall, I talked about Jonestown before. Manson family, guys, this is what happens. They cannot admit they have to fight now. They have to fight and fight and fight and fight and fight, guys. They have to keep fighting. They really have to keep fighting. And with that, guys, I'm going to end today's little chat. And Bezrat Hashem, guys, we're gonna win this. We're going to win this. I think this person, 200 million in the U.S. took this stuff. Those that trust politicians and mainstream news aren't informed about the real world. Some are hardcore cult members. Rest want to belong and fit in their social circle. Thinking people don't care. Don't take DNA altering shots. And keep company with like-minded only. That's what they're doing, guys, is splitting society apart, into camps, right? Unfortunately. My sense from the past of history, revolution, insurrections, and fall of kings is that the oligarchy has never been particularly good at reading the minds of we peasants and understood our own great reset plans. For the most elite, the first clear sign of trouble seems to come when they look to the side and suddenly realize that the fellow who a moment ago had been standing next to them had just had his head raised on a pike. So when their friends start, we start coming at their friends, they're gonna feel it, guys. They're gonna feel it. Anyway, guys, B'ezrat Hashem, everything should be okay. In the words of MC Hammer, we got to pray just to make it today because we too legit to quit. Alright, talk to you soon.